and forth between Iran and the U.S. continues militarily, there is a severe concern about the humanitarian crisis unfolding on the ground in Iran. Let's talk more about this with Dr. Majid Sadeghpour. He's up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Sir, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
First and foremost, as we see this back and forth between the U.S. and Iran, and we could take the politics and the diplomacy out of all of this, it is back and forth. And I think regardless of how people view this situation, it is an obscene humanitarian tragedy we're seeing playing out on the ground.
Yes, well said. We remember this conflict began on the heels of a significant uprising in Iran, where tens of thousands, as many as tens of thousands, were executed or killed in the streets, trying to overthrow this regime unsuccessfully, although. So the people of Iran are caught between a rock and a hard place, literally, between a regime that is trying to prevent another nationwide uprising, and of course, its inability or lack of desire to abide by the MOU terms. Despite the administration's repeated efforts to try to come to terms with them, in large part because the regime sees an actual peace as a tool to maintain its oppression machinery. So the people of Iran are caught with, unfortunately, in this dilemma.
You work with a group called the Organization of Iranian-American Communities, and during the outset of the war, we saw celebrations on the streets, here in D.C., Northern Virginia, across the country, because it seemed like there was going to be some sort of political sea change on the ground. You were going to have the regime out of the way, and maybe some freedom, maybe real leadership out there. Right. This has been a fight that, as you mentioned, has been going on for a long, long time.
Yes, it's been really a war. The main war that is going on in reality is between the regime and the people of Iran. It's a war that dates back to more than 45 years. This is an illegitimate regime that has been living through the barrel of a gun. It has used external conflicts as a tool to maintain its grip on power, to distract the international community from holding it accountable. And certainly it's desire to maintain this conflict in a low level, if it cannot be overstated. The peace really is like a noose for this regime. That is verbatim what Maryam Rajavi, the president-elect of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, told us in Paris a few weeks ago when we were there for a conference and rally. And so this regime sees an actual peace as an impediment sees it as an impediment to its existence.
So at this point in the conflict, and whether or not we have a ceasefire or not, the president certainly had some words to say about that the other day. You mentioned about where the attention should be paid moving forward here. We don't know how much longer this is going to last. We don't know how much longer the regime holds on for. What's your message to people watching this tonight? I mean, if there's ways that people can help or ways that people can follow along, what's your best advice to them?
I think I can say that the summary of it can be kind of seen in a resolution that is before Congress, House Resolution 166. It has an overwhelming majority of members of Congress co-sponsoring it. It urges our policymakers essentially to endorse a regime change, but a regime change that occurs by the people of Iran and their organized resistance. It endorses the 10-point plan that Mrs. Maryam Rajavi introduced decades ago. And so that's the third option. I think the MOU was a good faith effort on the part of administration. We see that this regime is not capable of abiding by it. And the reason for that is it needs to keep its security forces on the streets. It needs to persecute at will. It needs to kill and rape and maim Iranian residents, men and women and children. And in order to do that, it needs the Basiji and the IRGC on the streets. And war, even if at low level, is a great excuse for it. And let me add one other thing. Today, I saw a picture that was sent to us through social media from Iran of a family member of mine, right? She was shot trying to participate in the protests in Iran in January. For the past 6 months, she was in her house attending to the bullet wounds. I saw the picture of her and her bullet wounds. She was scared and has never sought medical attention. in Iran, because this regime hunts the injured. And that is the regime we are dealing with. So President Trump put the description of this regime very well just the other day. These are criminal animals, barbaric individuals that have been reigning over the Iranian people and persecuting them at will at a rate that I mentioned is indescribable, and it should not be acceptable for any part of humanity. Europeans and alike should hold the regime accountable.
Dr. Majid Sadeghpour, thank you very much for joining us and offering your perspective on this tonight. We'll be watching this obviously very closely as we've been throughout the conflict. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And we're back after this.